Hello and welcome to this ASMR video. Before we start, I'd like to thank you for all of the views in the last video. In today's video, I will read to you this book, Introduction of Genki for Learning Japanese. Let's go ahead and I will read to you the introduction. Is It is really interesting. Okay, introduction, aim, and purpose. Genki, an integrated course of elementary in Japanese, is a textbook for beginners in the study of the Japanese language. Students can complete the elementary level study of Japanese in 23 lessons of this, which is divided into two volumes. The book is designed mainly for use in university courses, but is also effective for high school students and adults who are beginning to learn Japanese, either at school or on their own. Hopefully, students will have at least a basic knowledge of English because grammar explanations are given in English. Genki, an integrated course in elementary Japanese, is comprehensive approach to developing four basic language skills, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing, which aims to cultivate overall Japanese language ability. Emphasis has been placed on balancing accuracy, fluency, and complexity so that students using the material will not end up speaking accurately yet in still manner or fluency, but employing only simple grammatical structures. This is the revised edition. Features changes in four major areas. First, addition of culture notes. Each lesson now contains a culture note, which is designed to enhance students' knowledge of Japan throughout information of Japanese culture and daily life. 2. Audio material bundle with text and workbook. Audio aids, which had previously been sold separately, have now been added to the textbook and workbook in MP3 format. The addition of audio material of workbook listening comprehension exercises is especially convenient. We have also recorded the readings from the reading and writing section of the book. Vocabulary and expressions. We rigorously review the vocabulary and expressions to replace words such as cassette, tape, and LL that are no longer in common use, with words and phrases that students will encounter more frequently. And number 4, grammar, practice, and readings. While no changes were made to grammatical topics included in each lesson, we supplemented the text and or made the necessary corrections to make the material even easier to understand. In this edition, we have replaced negative forms and of adjectives and noun phrases ku arimasen, ya arimasen, and nakocha ikemasen, meaning must, with the konaides, yanaides, and nakareba ikemasen, nakia ikemasen form, which are more commonly used in everyday life. We also increase communicative practice material, mainly dialogue, so that students will be given sufficient opportunity to practice the grammar that they learn. Moreover, we have updated the readings and in the readings and write section to make them more relevant to the Japan of today. The structure of the textbook. Okay, I will take a break. I need water. Let's see. This textbook, this textbook basically consists of three sections: grammar and conversation, reading and writing, and the appendix, a detailed explanation of each part follows. Conversation and grammar. The conversation and grammar section aims to improve students' speaking and listening abilities by having them learn basic grammar and by increasing their vocabulary. The conversation and grammar section of each lesson is organized as follows: dialogue. The dialogue revolves around the lives of foreign students living in Japan and their friends and families, presenting various themes that students are likely to face in their daily lives by practicing natural expressions and I-switch response that make conversations go smoothly. Students are able to understand how sentences are connected and how some phrases are shortened in daily conversation. Because of the dialogue is because of the dialogue section of each lesson covers a lot of the new grammar and vocabulary, students may feel is too difficult to understand at first. Don't overly concerned. Don't be overly concerned. However, because the grammar and vocabulary will gradually take root in practice, students can listen to dialogues and on the company audio aids in MP3 format. Students are encouraged to practice regularly by listening by listening to the audio and carefully noting pronunciation and intonation. Vocabulary. The vocabulary section presents all the new words encountered in both the dialogue and practice sections for each lesson. Words that appear in the dialogue are marked with an asterisk. Words are listened. Words are listed according to their function in lesson 1 and 2 and by parts of speech in lesson 3 and all subsequent lessons. In addition, all words are presented in the text that are also found in the index at the end of each volume. Words found in the vocabulary section of each lesson appear frequently in subsequent lessons, thus encouraging students to learn little by little each day. New words, along with the English translations, also appear in the audio material, which enables students to absorb through listening, starting with Lesson 3. The vocabulary section also gives kanji rendering, but students are not required to memorize kanji orthography. This textbook does not indicate a word's absence. The accents, the accent of Japanese word varies considerably depending on region, speaker's age, including generational gap between speakers. The word's inflection and its connection with other words in the sentence. Therefore, there is no need to be overly concerned about the accent, but try to imitate as closely as possible the intonation heard on the accompanying audio aids. Grammar. Easy to understand grammar explanations are provided so that even those students on their own easily follow. So even those studying on their own can easily follow. Students at school should read the explanation before each class. All grammar items covered in the lessons practice section are explained in the grammar section. Grammar and vocabulary are required that require explanations but are not practiced are summarized in the expression notes section at the end of each grammar section. Practice. For each grammar point covered, practice sections provide drills that advance in stages from basic practice to application. The intent is to enable students to gain a grasp of Japanese naturally by completing the drills in the order presented. Basic exercises that call for a single predetermined answer are marked with a tone weight. And recorded with their answers on audio aids, thus allowing students to practice and learn on their own. The last part of the practice section contains review exercises that help summarize what has been learned. For example, some exercises combine various topics covered in the lesson, while others require students to create dialogue by applying that was learned in the dialogue section. Culture Note. We have integrated a culture note section into each lesson, where we explain aspects of the culture and everyday life of Japan. These notes cover a wide variety of topics, ranging from matters closely linked to language, such as kinship terms, to information deeply integrated in daily life, such as the Japanese climate. Our hope is that these comments will serve as a springboard for students to deepen their understanding of Japanese culture even further by taking steps of their own, such as by gathering information from the internet or by discussing the topics with their Japanese friends. Useful expressions. When necessary, we include sections on useful expressions at the end of the lessons or at the end of the lessons in order to present supplementary vocabulary and phrases. These sections list expressions that are related to the lesson's topics, as in kind and age in lesson 1, or to particular situations, as in at station in lesson 10. The vocabulary introduced in useful expressions is also listed in the index of each volume. Okay, that was part 1 of conversation and grammar. Next, reading and writing. Structure, structure of text. Part 2, reading and writing. The reading and writing sections aims to foster comprehension and writing ability through the study of Japanese characters and through practice in both reading and writing. After learning hiragana in lesson 1 and katakana in lesson 2, students will begin studying kanji in lesson 3. Each lesson after lesson 3 is organized as follows. Kanji list. The list contains the new kanji introduced in each lesson. Students are exposed to about 15 new characters in each lesson. Since it is probably not feasible to learn all of these at once, we encourage students to tackle a few each day. We have format each kanji list as follows. 1. Serial number. 2. Kanji. 3. Reading. 4. Meaning. 5. Compounds that include kanji. Number 6. Stroke count. 7. Stroke order. The mark appearing next to the readings item, the number 2, indicates the onyomi, or the reading of the character that was imported from China. The mark item that indicates kunyomi, that is like the mark is like an arrow, but all white, a white arrow. The kunyomi, or the native Japanese reading, the sound of onyomi and kunyomi may change when the kanji is used in certain words. For example, the ordinary pronunciation of a kanji, of this kanji, is yaku, but this becomes gak when the kanji is used in the word gak ho. Such deliberative readings are also included in the readings section. Although some kanjis have many readings, we include principally those readings that are appropriate for an elementary level course. Readings and words that are shaded should be memorized. The others are for reference, so students don't need to memorize them. The reading and writing section of the workbook includes practice sheets for the kanji learned in each lesson. Students should practice writing the kanji repeatedly following the stroke order shown on the kanji list in the text. Genki 1 consists of kanji practice, readings for comprehension, questions about the content of the readings, and writing practice. Kanji is practice is aimed at getting students accustomed to kanji through practice in various forms, such as reconstructing kanji from their component parts or making new words by combining kanji. Readings for comprehension are generally short and deal with subjects familiar to the students. Mm. They assume knowledge of the vocabulary and grammar that the students has learned in the conversation and grammar section. New words that appear in the readings listed. At the end of each practice session, we suggest topics for students to write on. Genki 2 contains readings for comprehension, questions about the content of the readings and writing practice. The readings introduce Japanese as it is used in a variety of areas, ranging from letters and fable to essays and advertisements. They assume knowledge of the vocabulary and grammar that students has encountered in the lesson so far, and with each lesson the reading become longer and more difficult. New words in the readings are listed in the order in which they appear. At the end of each practice lesson, we suggest topics for students to write on. We provide recordings of these readings in both Volume 1 and 2 of the revised edition, revised edition. These are denoted by it's like a sound wave mark. Students can listen to them through the accompanying audio aids in MP3 format. C. The structure of the textbook. This is the appendix. The appendix of volumes 1 and 2 contain an index. The Japanese English index in hiragana order lists words and expressions from vocabulary and useful expression sections of each lesson. The index does not contain the vocabulary used in culture notes. The number next to a word indicates the lesson in which the word was introduced. In the English Japanese index, English equivalents of Japanese words are arranged in alphabetical order. In both indexes of this revised edition, verbs are indicated with a ru, ru, with you, or with IRR to show which verb group they belong to. Also included in the appendix are a map of Japan with names of all prefectures, a table of changes in sounds and numbers and counters, and a table of verb conjugation. The structure of the textbook. This is the last part. Orthography and font. The basic text is written in kanji and hiragana. In the case of kanji, we follow the official Jojo kanji list. However, hiragana is used instead when the Jojo kanji equivalent is deemed unnecessary for beginning students of Japanese. The pronunciation in every kanji in the conversation and grammar section is indicated in hiragana, so that this section can be studied alone, alone, alone. To lessen the burden on the students and allow them to study on their own. However, the greetings unit and lesson 1 and 2 romanization, the romanizations are purely for supplemental purposes and students should avoid replying on them, uh, relying on them too much. Students study hiragana and katakana in lesson 1 and 2 respectively. Of the reading and writing section. The students began studying kanji and lesson 3 and reading of their reading and writing section. To encourage students to maintain a firm grasp of the kanji they have learned, the reading and writing section does not provide hiragana readings for kanji that have already been introduced. The Japanese in the basic text is set mainly in the textbook font, which resembles handwriting and serves as a good model for students. Students will encounter a variety of fonts differs considerably depending on the font used. Note that especially that in certain fonts, two separate strokes may merge into a single stroke because because they mimic the characters produced by a writing brush. And that would be it for today's video. This is the introduction of Genki 1, an integrated course in elementary Japanese. I also learning through this, and like I said in my last video, I am not an English speaker, but I use this channel to practice my English. And with that said, I hope you are asleep or at least relax. And we will see us again in the next video. Goodbye.